About a year ago, I met a sweet, practical girl, and, to be honest, I fell in love with her right away. And as a result, we got married. But there was one thing she was hiding from me, and that, as it turned out, was the reason we broke up. It was a rainy afternoon when I walked into the cafe, peak hour, with people flooding in from work or school. On days like this, everyone craves a hot drink, wants to dry off a bit, and warm up. I couldn't find a single empty table where I could sit by myself. So I just breezed into the cafe, struck up a conversation, and we both started complaining about the weather. Ugh, what a nightmare. It's like the rain's been poured out of a bucket, I said. Yeah, you're right. You're soaked too. She chimed in, totally agreeing. I didn't expect this at all today. I didn't dress for the weather and forgot my umbrella, I said with a little laugh. After that, the conversation shifted to other topics, including some personal stuff. Like any good gentleman, I couldn't resist leaving her my number. The next day, I called, and we made plans to meet up. The honeymoon phase of our relationship lasted about 3 weeks, and then I ended up staying over at her place. It was on the second date that Layla opened up and told me about her past. She had been in a relationship before, but it wasn't a good one. Her ex was unstable, often drunk, and sometimes even violent. You know, living with him was like living in hell, she said. And that's not even the worst part. And the fact that it's been 4 months, constant threatening calls. But just last week, he came to me drunk and threatened to kill me. I don't even know what to do with it. I couldn't ignore the situation and tried to calm her down. Don't worry. I'll handle your ex. You're safe with me. I would never hurt you, I promised. But then Layla opened up again about the calls and texts she kept getting from Wyatt. She suggested that we should move in together. Let's get an apartment. I'll change my number, and I'll take myself off all social media. Wyatt's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, and he won't leave me alone. It wasn't that I was worried about her ex. I just wanted to be with her. So, without a second thought, I agreed. We found a small but cozy place in a quieter part of town and settled in, enjoying our time together. By the way, Layla worked at the local library. Her salary was modest, yet she lived comfortably, had a large wardrobe, always looked well-groomed, and never seemed to skimp on her meals. I noticed it, of course. Babe, I don't mean to be nosy, but it seems like your income doesn't quite add up to all this, I said one evening, genuinely curious. And she came up with a perfectly reasonable explanation. Well, my parents are helping me. My father is the director of a car dealership, and I am his only child. He doesn't mind spending money on me. On Layla's birthday, I took a big step and proposed to her. I bought a stunning bouquet and splurged on a beautiful ring. To my surprise, she said yes. We were both excited and started making plans for our future. We even talked about taking out a loan to cover our wedding expenses, which we would pay off after the big day. According to her, her dad was supposed to help with the down payment for the mortgage. But there was something that didn't sit quite right. She had never introduced me to her parents. I felt a little uneasy about it, but I tried to put those thoughts aside. Then, just a couple of weeks after our wedding, I needed to copy the file to a USB drive. I searched for mine for a long time, but I couldn't find it, so I decided to borrow it from Layla. I couldn't resist clicking on the video she saved. What I saw made my heart sink. She was there, smiling, laughing and feeling comfortable with some man much older than her. At the beginning of the video, she even said, "Wyatt, I'm getting married soon, but that doesn't change anything between us." I was in shock. It didn't take long for me to decide I needed to confront the situation. Layla didn't say a word about the video, so I went ahead and tracked down Wyatt. She had once casually mentioned that he hung out at the Hobbs bar every Saturday, so that's where I went. When I saw him, I could tell right away that this guy had money. It was obvious in the way he carried himself, the clothes, the whole vibe. I sat down across from him as he ordered his drink. "Good afternoon, Wyatt," I said, trying to keep my calm. "My name's Julian. Today, I'm Layla's boyfriend, and we need to talk." Wyatt didn't seem surprised. Instead, he responded with a mocking tone. Well, advice and love, huh? I used to see her once a week. Don't worry, it won't affect your marriage. Or are you upset about that? Honestly, if it weren't for me, she'd probably be crying her eyes out after every visit. And by the way, the more money you throw at her, the more she'll try to please you. Is that a problem for you? A woman bringing money into the house? He smirked, then went on. All this talk about her father is bullshit. She's from somewhere in the north. Don't worry, it's all right. I'll even help you with the down payment. I was speechless. I wasn't sure if I should be angry or disgusted. But what could I even say to someone like him? So, I left the bar in silence. When I got home, I didn't waste any time. I told Layla about what I had found. I told her everything, about the video, about my conversation with Wyatt. I asked her bluntly why she needed to marry me if she was still so passionate about him. Layla's response hit me like a ton of bricks. Yes, Wyatt's in the picture right now, but I hope he won't be for long, she said, almost nonchalantly. He's married, doesn't want to leave his family. But about the money? Well, do you honestly think we can afford to rent an apartment and cover all the other costs on just our income? We also need the funds for the down payment. Think about it. Maybe we should just leave things as they are, because we need to be practical. At that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer. I looked at her, shook my head, and said only one word: divorce. I packed my things, left, and didn't look back. What kind of future were we talking about back then? 2 months later, my ex-wife called me. "Julian, come on, you loved me, and everything's over with Wyatt now. He was in an accident and is bedridden. Check it if you want. Please, let's start fresh. We can pick up where we left off." I didn't hesitate for a second. "You're messed up. Find another fool." After that, she kept trying to reach out to me, but I didn't respond. I guess things weren't as easy for her on her own. No one was knocking on her door, and it seemed like the reality of her situation was finally sinking in.